Hello my friends, my name is Artur Rehi and... Did you hear that? That's the sound of freedom. Oh, again! Freedom is coming! Oh, I'm getting the freedom vibes! Oh. Initiate Operation Freedom! Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets went bare, them a bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? And that's what freedom sounds like. Freedom is brought to you by A-10 Warthog. I have made one video about it, it's one of the most popular videos of my channel. We all love the sound. We all love the incredible stories how A-10s saved the lives of boots on the ground. You could say that this video is sponsored by Freedom and the A-10 Warthog, but also it is sponsored by the Patreons. These videos that I make are actually possible thanks to the help of Patreons. If you like this style, then consider becoming a Patreon. This actually makes sure I will continue making these videos for you. I have a list of Patreons and I want to name them to make sure they get their honorable recognition for supporting this channel and making me able to do what I love, making videos for you. Here are 3 new Patreons. Isaac Isco, thank you for becoming a Patreon. Gamer in the House Power, thank you for supporting the channel. Kit Rock, I appreciate it. Go and grab your Estonian YouTuber cup. If you don't have it, the link is in the description below. Go and get it. Get some green tea or coffee. And let's begin with the A-10 Warthog video. This is how I drink, I always slurp. Get used to it. Oh! You heard this, you heard it right here, baby. I hope to make that sound when I'm in bed with my girl and it's the good times and we're reaching the end and then the A-10 Warthog happens. Wink. Is that joke too dirty for my channel? I don't think so.
The Fairchild Republic A-10 Lightning Bolt, or simply the Hog, is one of the most iconic planes in the US Air Force.
Warthog!
A plane developed in the middle of the Cold War with a specific type of warfare in mind. If the Cold War turned hot, one area was destined to become a battleground. A 50-kilometer corridor of lowland valleys called the Fulda Gap, where any invading troops would be channeled on their march from East Germany to West Germany. It was the shortest route to France, Frankfurt, and the strategically important Rhine River. If war broke out, this corridor would be a vital region to secure, and each side of the Fulda Gap was defended by armoured divisions.
I hope to see these armoured divisions deployed to Estonia to defend us from Russia. We don't have war with Russia, officially Russia is not our enemy, but we all know what Putin's ambitions are, and Estonia is in one of those ambitions. Yeah, he doesn't like us being a free country, he doesn't like us being a friend of USA, which we are, so if USA, if you could, Joe Biden, if you're watching, it's your ability to do this. We need troops in Estonia, please.
To cope with this threat environment, the US developed an operational doctrine called Air-Land Battle, and the A-10 was developed as a vital component of this.
Look at this minigun. Oh, looks sexy as hell. Am I the only one who finds this minigun sexy? If that is weird, then unsubscribe, because I find it quite sexy.
Strategy. A low-flying tank killer which would work closely with the troops on the ground to break up enemy formations at the front, while high-flying bombers harassed the supply lines at the rear. The A-10 was a plane designed specifically for the role of close air support. Close air support is exactly that, close. Close to friendly forces and close to unfriendly forces. It requires a plane to be capable of absorbing a great deal of damage as they come under fire, and to be incredibly accurate with its weapons to avoid friendly fire.
Oh, look at it, what it does to a vehicle. Oh my god. Whatever is inside that vehicle is gone, long gone. It will be red mist, if you know what I mean by it. You're a human and in the next second you're poof! You have exploded into red mist of blood and bones and brains. Because A-10 Warthog does not play around. It makes you like, it's like you're inside of a meat mincer and it minces you thoroughly with its 30mm gun. Is it 30 or 20? I hope it's 30. Oh my god, I'm so glad you guys are on our side. I'm so glad. My friends, the list for the orders for the Estonian soldier hat is quite small. This competition is obviously not as popular as the Estonian YouTuber Cup competition, but still I need to sell my merch to make this YouTube as a job. You know, to live. Like the patron selling the merch pays for the channel, so I'm so thankful for the people who still are getting the hat. Some of you are still doing it. You're keeping this channel going. Carry on, lads. We have 5 new names, and right now Arizona is leading with 13 points. Let's see what happens. Kellantuevel. I said it as an Estonian, so I'm sorry if I offend you, Kellantuevel. Your city is called Royalton. Royalton, oh boy! You are royalty if you live in Royalton. Must be good to live in Royalton. That is in Minnesota. 9 for Minnesota. 1 more and the numbers will change. Andre Ponce, or is it Andre Ponce? Andre Ponce. You live in Madison, Wisconsin. I wonder how many different US city names have I pronounced in the last year. Whew, baby. That was the second one for Wisconsin. Come on, Wisconsin people, get the ball rolling. Michael Paris, French, au revoir. Actually, it's Michael Paris, because it's Tom's River. That's the name of the place where he lives. Tom's River, there is a guy called Tom. He has a river, he lives. Tom owns the river, and Michael lives in that river, in Tom's River. That is in New Jersey. Of course, Tom's River is in New Jersey. Everybody knows that. 3rd point for New Jersey, baby! Michael, say hello to Tom for me, in the river. Andrew Flood. When Tom's River is overflowing, you have a flood. Andrew Flood. Mr. Flood. You don't mess with Mr. Flood. He will flood your home with your blood. Okay, that got too dark. Sorry. Andrew, you're from Canton, Ohio. 5 points for Ohio, way to go! And now the last order will go to Troy Sims. Oh, we have lovely last names today. Flood and Paris and Sims, the computer game. Yes, we have the brother of the inventor of the computer game Sims. Troy Sims. You live in Dallas, Texas. You know, the state of the free people. Hee-haw, cowboy, let's put your point to Texas. That is the 10th point for Texas. It will have the other numbers for pride. Arizona has 13, Texas has 10, Florida has 12. This is the first 3 right now. Things might change in the next video. Go and get the Estonian soldier hat. You support the channel. Also, we're running out of orders, so I kinda like this competition. I don't want it to end, so if you go and get the hat. Thank you. Back to the video.
A plane with this role needs some unique qualities. It needs to be available at a moment's notice. In an ever-evolving battlefield, troops could need support without warning, and because of this, the plane needs to be nearby and ready to go. This means working from forward bases that may not necessarily have all the infrastructure and equipment that other planes need to operate. Its survivability needs to be best in class. Flying this close to the ground is going to result in every man with a weapon taking potshots at the plane.
Yeah.
As a result, the plane needs...
I can just imagine some bush fighters, sand fighters, however you call them, with their Kalashes trying to shoot random shots at this plane, trying to take it down with their, 2 magazines of Kalashnikov bullets. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Or Russian troops. Politically correctly, I am not supposed to say as an Estonian that we have an enemy or we are preparing, we're just defending ourselves, but I'm a free YouTuber, I can say what I want, so I'm saying it. Estonia's biggest foreign threat is Russia. biggest foreign threat. So that's why we need those A-10 Warthogs on our side in Estonia, deployed in Estonia. Because Russia is known to have a lot of tanks, and this is known to take down a lot of tanks. So A-10, Joe Biden, you want to take some Russian tanks out? Hey, come to Estonia, baby.
Needs to be capable of dealing with small arms, machine guns, anti-aircraft guns, and even missiles. A-10s frequently limp back to their base with damage so severe that they would have downed another plane, with parts of their wings ripped off, with an engine taken out and hydraulics unoperational. And coming with this, the plane needs to be simple and cheap to manufacture. The Air Force made it clear from the beginning, in a battle of cost versus performance, cost would be prioritized.
So this is like a mass-producing plane, that it's not super high-tech, but it's more like a T-72 or something that you can mass-produce. So it doesn't have to be top-notch technology, but more like easy to make. You know, we can make thousands of them, something like that. I can vouch for that, because if you need to take down tanks, there are a lot of tanks. You know, the US enemies have a lot of tanks, tens of thousands of tanks, China and Russia. You need a lot of those planes.
In an all-out war with the Soviets, quantity and ease of manufacturing was going to be a huge factor. Like the Sherman and the T-34 tanks, which were so influential in World War II, a future war between the Soviets and the US was expected to be won by whoever could out-manufacture and maintain their equipment.
That is true, but I'm going to say it right here. Soviet Union was never going to out-manufacture USA. It was just not possible. They didn't have the potential for it. The population was starving, so how could they out-manufacture a system whose people are actually happy? USA or the Western countries. Not in a million years, no.
This plane was intended to be a cheap and rugged workhorse. It needed to be made with readily available off-the-shelf parts, so maintenance crews could easily interchange parts to repair damage quickly and at a low cost. Contractors bidding for the manufacturing contract needed to consider all of these factors and design the entire plane around the primary armament, which was chosen before the design process started.
Oh, baby!
The General Electric
the beautiful
GAU-8
30mm,
whose sound is so recognizable it has become a meme. The gun takes up.
It has become a sound of freedom, let me tell you that. Sound of freedom. If you don't know what freedom sounds like, listen to this plane.
Up a significant portion of the plane's internal volume at nearly 6 meters long, fitting snugly below the pilot. The largest part of the gun is the ammo drum, which typically holds 1,150 30mm rounds.
1,150 rounds. You would need at least about 400 or 500 rounds to take down one tank, because you shoot many seconds and it shoots, what, 70 rounds a second? So yeah, about 400 or 500 rounds per tank. You could take down 2 to 3 tanks with one reload. That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good.
The rounds are delivered to the 7 rotating barrels along a linkless chute system, which also pulls the shell casings back into the ammo drum after firing to prevent the expended shells from damaging the plane. The belt system and the rotating cam firing system of the barrels are both driven by a hydraulic motor, which is powered by 2 independent hydraulic systems on board. There are 2 separate hydraulic systems to ensure redundancy in operation, and both run the gun. The left and right hydraulic systems are pressurized by 2 identical engine-driven pumps on the left and right engine. If an engine is lost or one of the hydraulic lines is broken, then the controls powered by those hydraulics cease to work. However, the plane has been designed to allow it to continue flying on only one hydraulic system, as both elevators, both ailerons, and one rudder have hydraulic power after loss of either hydraulic lines, ensuring powered control of pitch, roll, and yaw even after the loss of a single hydraulic system.
Whoa.
If both are lost, the plane can switch to a manual reversion flight control system where the controls can be operated without power assist, which is difficult to say the least, but it can allow the pilot to land the plane safely, or, at the very least, allow them to get into safe airspace to eject.
Sounds pretty amazing. This plane is not that easy to take down if you listen to it right now. One hydraulic goes, you can use another one. Second hydraulic goes, the pilot can still manipulate the plane. You know, with some of the planes, if one of the engines is gone, the plane is gone. Not with this one though. This baby stays in the air for as long as possible. I love it, I love it, I love it. Manufacturing of USA right here.
This kind of redundancy can be found in every component of the A-10 to increase survivability. The landing gear is retracted by the left system only, but it can be extended by both, and in the event neither system is available, the wing-mounted landing gear doesn't actually retract all the way into the fairings, which allows the plane to land with landing gear retracted with only moderate damage to the plane. Protecting the control mechanisms through redundancy is just one component of increasing survivability.
This is engineering genius here. You have thought about everything. Even if the system that controls the wheels is broken and they're not going to come out, they're still out enough for the plane to land. It's incredible. They have thought of everything and they're ready for everything. If you compare it to F-35, the whole project, how much it all costs, how expensive the parts are, this is genius. The F-35 is not. Although it's a very good plane, the F-35, it's just too damn expensive.
The fuel tanks are self-sealing on the lower portions and are filled with foam to prevent explosions. The A-10, like all planes, can fly with significant armor covering every portion of the plane, so they just protect the most vital component on the plane, the stick operator, otherwise known as the pilot, who sits inside a titanium tub which is reported to be capable of absorbing direct hits from armor-piercing rounds up to 23mm.
Whoa.
The canopy is also made from ballistic glass, capable of taking hits from small arms. But this isn't the type of plane to be flying upside down over the battlefield. This is more for shrapnel from anti-aircraft fire and missiles. The A-10 also carries more chaff and flares than any US Air Force legacy fighter. Chaff is radar reflective material which confuses radar controlled missiles, while flares confuse heat-seeking missiles.
I have a question about the flares. I've seen many movies where the flares are used. They come out like that and then the rocket hits the flares. How do they work exactly? The rocket is heat guided, right? It searches for heat. The flare is hot enough for the rocket to confuse it for the plane and it explodes hitting the flare? And how effective are the flares? If you have 3 rockets behind you, all heat guided, and you deploy flares, are you safe 100%? Because the flares are quite old. I'm sure new rockets have been developed that are immune to flares. Alright, got off topic, let's go on.
With 4 dispensers located in the landing gear pods and another 4 on the outer wingtips, for a total of 16 across both wings, which can be triggered automatically by radar and laser detection systems on the nose and wingtips of the plane, or simply fired manually by the pilot. One of the most striking features of the A-10 is its strange engine placement and tail configuration, and this too was a design feature to thwart enemies with heat-seeking missiles. The engines and tail were arranged like this to mask the infrared signature of the hot exhaust of the plane, which could be used to lock onto the plane by IR missiles on the ground. The tail would look more at home on a World War II bomber, which were designed to be stable. Stability was an important part of the A-10's design. The large vertical stabilizers help keep the plane on target as it fires its insanely powerful gun. The gun is mounted directly on the center line of the plane to minimize the effect of the recoil pushing the plane off target. The recoil force at 44.5 kilonewtons is so powerful that it effectively halves the plane's forward thrust, as each of the A-10's General Electric T-34 engines produces just 41 kilonewtons of thrust, but the plane fires in such short bursts, typically 1 to 2 seconds.
Oh my god.
The pilot doesn't need to worry about...
This is incredible. This gun pushes you back as heavily as this one motor pushes you forward. So if you had 2 guns at the back of this plane, shooting simultaneously, you would go faster than with those 2 motors. This is incredibly powerful. Wow. If you would put this gun on a car and shoot it, you would get like 150 miles per hour without anything else necessary. Just shoot the gun. We're going, baby. Speed record broken. I'm amazed. Still amazed. Old design, still good.
Stalling. The high engines mounted behind the wings also reduce the amount of dirt and dust that can enter the engines from forward operating base runways, which can be just dirt runways. A lot of design choices were made to allow the plane to operate from remote airfields like this. Smaller military planes like this don't typically have auxiliary power units, which are small secondary engines that large planes, like airliners, have. You can see the exhaust of these little hidden engines in the tails of airliners. These engines allow the plane to start its main engines without external help, and help run functions like electricity generation and hydraulic fluid pumps. But it's unnecessary weight for most small aircraft, and they usually use some other way to get the engine spinning. Sometimes this results in the plane relying on ground equipment, which the A-10 cannot depend on, and so an APU was installed between the two podded engines. You can see the exhaust of the APU just underneath the nacelles here. Some of the most interesting design challenges arose from the sheer power of the aircraft's gun. The gun spits out so much burnt and unburnt propellant that they actually lost an early model in 1978 after exhaust gas from the gun ignited and starved the engines of oxygen. To deal with this, some design changes were made. First, a small gas scoop was placed underneath the barrels to suck in some of that exhaust. The chemical mixture of the round propellant was changed to increase the flash suppressant levels. This in turn caused secondary problems, as the new chemical mixture caused residue to build up on the cockpit windows and a canopy washer was needed, which simply
Oh my god, you introduce a new thing. Another problem arises, and everything has to be so perfectly balanced on this plane and easily manufactured that you need to think about everything, how it fits the whole system, because if you change a small thing, it affects everything else also.
The washing fluid onto the canopy, and the slipstream did the rest of the work.
Baby!
Circuitry was also added to force the engine ignition system to continually fire while the gun trigger was being pulled, so that in the event a flameout occurred, the engine could rekindle its flame immediately. The GAU-8 Avenger is a monstrous machine designed to wreak havoc on those Soviet tanks attempting to push through Allied lines.
Hey, I'm sure it doesn't wreak havoc only on Soviet tanks. You put any modern tank, doesn't matter how modern, how new, this plane shoots through it. I'm telling you that. Even if it takes more rounds, I think 1,000 rounds is enough to go through any tanks that exists nowadays. Prove me wrong in the comments.
To do this, they need heavy armor-piercing rounds. The rounds are truly massive at 30mm. These rounds are rounds made of aluminium with a depleted uranium core. Uranium is...
Every one of those rounds has uranium core. That is really expensive. Imagine how much rounds they shoot just to practice. They need to have a lot of depleted uranium.
Insanely dense at 19.1 grams per centimeter cubed. Lead, in comparison, is 11.3 grams per centimeter cubed, and iron is 7.9. Okay. This density gives the round more kinetic energy for armor piercing. The depleted uranium also ablates material in a way that self-sharpens the projectile, while tungsten, which is slightly denser than uranium, tends to mushroom out and dulls itself upon impact. There is currently 700,000 metric tons of depleted uranium stored as uranium hexafluoride in huge storage cylinders across America.
700 metric tons. That is not that much, if you think about it. I was hoping to hear like 100,000 tons. Of course it's too much, but 700 tons, it is not that much.
Costing uranium enrichment facilities a great amount in maintenance. They are simply delighted when someone gets it off their hands and fires it at high speed into a country thousands of miles away.
Hey,
it's a cheap and freely available resource and has the perfect material properties for armor piercing. But the efficacy of using depleted uranium is obviously not good. Many war-torn regions have blamed its use for elevated cases of cancer. The A-10 has been under...
Depleted uranium shot through A-10 rounds gives people cancer who live next to the places the rounds go into the ground. That is interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that. You're shooting radioactive ammunition, which has long-term effect on the people who live there. Damn! Mind blown. This is nuclear warfare almost.
Under constant threat of retirement. Detractors have pushed from the very start that the plane is not needed. First, it was the F-16 which should take over its job, and now it's the F-35. And both sides of the argument have valid points. The F-16 and A-10 can carry similar amounts of ordnance into the battlefield if needed. Both have 11 hardpoints with a carrying capacity over 7.2 tons. but attaching heavy equipment to its wings negates the biggest advantage of the F-16, its maneuverability and ability to conserve kinetic energy in dogfights. The F-16 was designed to be a multi-role fighter, while the A-10 was designed for one job and one job only: getting down and dirty and taking some punches like Rocky. While modern planes like the F-35 were designed to be more like Muhammad Ali, bobbing, weaving, elusive, striking and moving out of the enemy's range before they can react. The two planes were designed in completely different eras with completely different military
Yeah, don't you come telling me, US generals, whoever you are, that you're trying to take this off the shelf. Retire this plane. No, not on my watch. Send them to Estonia. Don't retire them. No.
Doctrine in mind, and trying to compare the two without acknowledging that is silly. The F-35 is designed to carry a small payload of weapons in its internal weapons bay, while stealth is a high priority. But it can carry just as much as the F-16 when air superiority is established. It's a multi-role fighter designed for the modern battlefield. Ultimately, the A-10 found a role in wars like Iraq and Afghanistan, where the threat level and sophistication of enemy weaponry was relatively low.
If you're going to attack an ISIS Toyota pickup or Iraqi 4x4 which has a mounted machine gun on it with an F-35, that's an overkill. But A-10 Warthog is perfect for this kind of job.
Like the battles expected in the Fulda Gap in the 1980s, the A-10 persists today because it excels in its role as a close air support vehicle, and its low cost of running compared to other military planes has kept it competitive.
What? It is so cheap to maintain, what the hell? F-22, F-35, oh my god, F-15, so expensive. Of course, these planes are with a different goal, we already heard about this, but still, it's one of the cheapest planes ever to maintain. I don't see the reason why you should retire this. It's so damn cheap, and money decides a lot of things in the USA, and money talks here. Keep this plane. I'm personally lobbying for this plane to stay alive.
Allowing it to be in the vanguard for military operations today. A plane the infantry can see coming over the horizon, like Gandalf arriving into Helm's Deep to lift the siege.
A-10 saving the day again.
A-10 saving the day, baby.
It's become an iconic aircraft among the soldiers on the ground. A bond has formed between it and the infantry it protects. But just as the A-10 was created in preparation for an anticipated next-generation war, the F-35 was created with future wars in mind, where the threat environment will be so dense that simply being able to take a punch won't save it. The nature of close air support has continually evolved over the past century. In World War II, tactical air forces were created specifically for providing close air support to the troops landing in Normandy on D-Day. Range for these fighters was a major tactical issue, and within 24 hours of the first men landing in Normandy, 3 new emergency landing strips had been created off the beaches, which would allow the Allies to extend their fighter-bomber range and prevent a fierce counterattack by the Germans from overwhelming the small toehold the Allies managed to carve out in Normandy. I explored these vital logistical challenges in a future episode of The Logistics of D-Day that will be out next month. These airfields were primarily built to extend the reach of Allied aerial support as ground troops pushed forward. However, as the front line progressed, many were converted to supply depots, emergency evacuation posts, and heavy bomber airfields. Others were simply abandoned and allowed to return to farmland over time.
Whoa, this video was interesting. I love this kind of stuff. US weaponry, one of my favorite topics. If you like it also, please consider becoming a Patreon of this channel. This is the best way to support. Make sure I will do these videos for you. Or if you want to get something in return, except for these videos, get the mug. Get the Estonian YouTuber cup or get the Estonian soldier hat. It supports the channel and you get a cool hat or a cool cup. So these are the things you can do to make sure I can make these videos. Thank you so much for watching these videos. Thank you for being there. You're the reason I make them, so you can thank yourself. Until my next video, stay cool and bye bye.